listening to Reset Race. You now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race. You're now tuned in to Reset Race. What? Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Back on the grill again. We grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake. On the edge, go back to US Southern plantations. Pennies, Jim Crow, and mass incarceration. Redlining lynchings, we are old from this nation. You're not about justice if you ain't for reparations. MG, the wise one, cousin, mother, intellectual. Samantha bringing fire, anti-black, we pressing you. No permanent friends and no permanent enemies. The backbone of the country, the win, you need our energy. You gon' see, listening to Reset Race. You now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race. You're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Back on the grill again. We grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake.
Everybody, thank you. Welcome to Reset Race and joining us for a quick little impromptu because we kind of wanted to have a discussion about the U.S. in talks to compensate families up to $450,000 for a lawsuit about their families being separated at the border. So we're actually looking forward to kind of discussing this. So for me personally, I think, and most of the people on this panel, our interest is not to debate whether people who were harmed by the government should be paid through a lawsuit, because we don't like for people to talk about how we should not be paid for a lawsuit. This is not about the immigrants that will receive this money. This is actually a conversation about how the US government understands and will do payouts when they feel the need to. Because the thing about it is the US government cannot be sued unless they allow themselves to be. So they're allowing themselves to be sued by these immigrants for them to get these checks. So,
welcome back to our YouTube video channel. My name is Christopher Neufeld of Neufeld Legal, and in this particular YouTube video, we'll be discussing the legal concept of sovereign immunity. Now, what is sovereign immunity? Well, sovereign immunity is a judicial doctrine that typically prevents governments or its political subdivisions, departments, agencies, and even its personnel from being sued without the consent of that government. So the critical thing is the necessity for consent to be provided by the government to allow itself, its agencies, or its individuals to be sued by others. Now, this principle stems from an ancient English principle wherein the monarch, otherwise known as the sovereign, can do no wrong. And if the monarch could do no wrong, the monarch was thus immune from suit. Hence the terminology sovereign immunity. So if we're going to look at this, we're going to say, okay, if I have sovereign immunity, well, if a particular state, a particular country has sovereign immunity, it cannot be brought before courts, whether for civil suits or criminal prosecutions. So, what does this relate to? It means it cannot be sued, and if it were a party, it is immune from enforcement of any suit, because what will happen is lawyers bring lawsuits and name a multitude of individuals. And the individuals, persons, companies, countries, whole range of parties. And very often, because of the principle of sovereign immunity, and because these countries and their governments don't want to get into a squabble and don't believe they should be, they don't even defend themselves in the suit. They don't appear. So they operate in absentia, and in so doing, technically, under the legal procedure, they are found. One can be found guilty in absentia because you don't defend yourself. So because of that partial principle also, the countries around the world recognize that simply because you do not appear, because you do not give credence to every claim that is brought against yourself as a country, as a government, you are not subject to being found guilty and being sued. Hence, they look to the aspect of sovereign immunity. So the fact that sovereign immunity exists does not mean it cannot be waived. Governments and states do waive it. The waiving of it is in very specific, very limited circumstances where it is deemed appropriate by the government to waive it.
I would like to go through the list. So I'm here. I'm Samantha Angelique, aka the Khaleesi. And Tansy, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Tansy Flakes. I'm coming out of the DMV area in Maryland. And along with Sam, this is not about if the immigrants should get any money. This is about the fact that the government understands exactly what they did and that they harmed someone and that those people need to be fixed from that harm. And if they understand that, then they understand the harm that they committed towards our ancestors, and we demand we go first. Fix them people if you want to, but you're not going to do that until you pay what you owe with us, and then we can move on from there.
Next up, John D. Thank you for coming to join us.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It's a little kind of like Friday night fun here. I appreciate you, but the topic is an interesting one. I mean, honestly, I remember reading it in the news like a couple days ago myself. So when you texted the topic, I said, yeah, that's an interesting one, because I was almost shocked at the number. Just that I know the Biden administration is throwing around a lot of big numbers these days. That's what they like to do. But yeah, the 450,000 per person, I guess that was a number that was floated. But this whole talking point about the kids in cages, I mean, that was really so big a few years ago. I think we all probably remember, I mean, how big and effective of a talking point that is. So yeah, I think like Tansy says, and it's nice to meet you, Tansy. I don't know if we've ever been on stream before, but yeah, I think you said it right, that the government definitely recognizes, when there's an injustice here, and in this case they're making the proposal, and I read these articles, it says it's, in this case, it's just for psychological trauma. That's what they say. So I mean, if you take that framework into the context of Freedmen, I think you could get into quite a pretty exponential equation. So I appreciate you bringing me on. I hope I'll have some interesting things to say myself, but I just always enjoy coming on and hanging out with you. I appreciate the opportunity. And yeah, it's John D, and I hope everyone's doing well on this Friday.
We always appreciate having you. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just think that it's very interesting that we didn't really see a lot of preamble to this. We're already here where the Biden administration is considering this. There was no great debate about how we're going to pay for it. No great debate of where we're going to get the political will. It's just, we're right at this point already, which is kind of crazy to me. But yeah, that's my initial thoughts on all this. And, I guess we can get into the show.
Do we actually want to read the article? Because some of the things, and I hate to, sorry y'all, for those of y'all who aren't on Twitter, but one of the things that I see people talking about is, this isn't reparations. This is for a lawsuit. This is about them separating children at the border. Again, everybody on this panel understands what the lawsuit is for and why it's being done. And no one is complaining on this particular panel about them taking care of business because they harmed a group of people. Again, it's rolling back to us. So do we want to go through the article, or should we just make that a known fact and then we go forward from there of how are Black Americans supposed to feel? How are white Americans supposed to feel? But let's start with the Black folks. How are us as ADOS US Freedmen supposed to feel about this, right?
Well,
So you're telling,
go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Sam.
please.
Sorry.
No, go ahead and start, because I'm gonna go off. So go ahead. Like, I just want to know, like, I'm glad that you're here, Tansy, because you're not like a regular. I don't think you've ever been on the show. You've had private conversations with us, but I don't think you've ever necessarily been on a show. So I think it's good for people to be able to hear other voices that aren't necessarily us, so they can understand, like, this is rippling through the community cross country.
Yes. So I know I know from over here in Maryland and the DC area, this is it intersects in a couple of ways, because some of those immigrants that will be compensated for their harm are going to be Black, and we understand that, but we're over here, we have counties that are either trying to get legislation put in approved so that we can, quote unquote, study the harms of slavery. And here it is that, and there's multiple, by the state, there's different studies already done, documentation, everything. You don't really need to study it, but you have all of this, and they keep telling us, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that. But here it is, you're just quick and just ready to give these people the fix that they need. It's a slap in the face. It's a slap in the face. It's a spit in the face. It's a kick in the gut. Just a consideration. How I almost want to say, how dare you expect us not to even be angry? I'm trying to be as civil as I can and say, and not be too ugly with my words, but trying to use choice words because I want to have an intelligent conversation. But I'm mad. I'm really, really pissed because this doesn't make any sense. How you owe us, and then you keep denying that, and now you just want to, just like screw you and be happy for everybody else. Because the moment we say something, we get labeled, xenophobes and all this other stuff. No, I'm not a xenophobe. I'm just not a damn dumbass. And I'm not gonna sit up here and let you piss on me in my face and tell me that it's raining. It's not raining. This is piss. And how many times I'm gonna sit up here and turn the other dang on cheek and let you just keep smiting me before I just say enough is a damn enough. And I don't know when enough is enough, when enough is going to be enough for our people. But I tell you what, I think a lot of our people felt this one. It may not be necessarily enough, but it was enough to get their attention.
I think, to be honest, I think this is going to really ripple because of the fact of how hard it hit off rip. We haven't even started talking to the community yet. It's been 2 days. This is just conversations amongst us online. Wait till it blends out into the full community and people actually start talking to Meemaw and start talking about Momo and Popo and Papa, and everybody start talking about, like, they got this money, right? This money that they talking about we can't have, they got it. So what we gonna do? And I feel like we're kind of at this moment, and where do I want to go with this? With the whole xenophobic thing, right? Like when they were trying to give Black people specifically money, was that in Chicago? I might have to Google that. Can you look that up, Chauncey? When they were trying to, I think it was in Chicago, when they were trying to give Black people money specifically for COVID, the Mexicans actually went and petitioned against it so we couldn't get the money. So again, this isn't a race thing, but other groups are allowed to get stuff for their ethnicity, and us as Black folks, we don't contest it. We don't go to the courts. We don't fight against them getting these things. But as soon as it's something for Black people, everybody else has a problem. That is something that is a real issue. And I think that ties all of this back together, that we will pay people who were inconvenienced for 3 years up to almost almost $500,000 for mental anguish, but we will not pay the people who descend from chattel slavery, Black codes, Jim Crow, redlining, mass incarceration.
And the
Y'all
mental
been still,
anguish and the
y'all
mental
been
anguish
stealing
that
our
comes.
babies through the CPS.
Yes.
Like, are we gonna pretend like our babies haven't been taken from us and that our babies haven't been caged?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
And caged along with the mamas and the daddies. You know, it's just too much. It's too much BS going on for us just to be like, well, you know, again, we have gatekeepers that have been put in place to keep the Negroes calm and to make sure that we don't get out of hand. And so every time we do rise up and get out of hand, you notice they send another Negro whisperer out there to get us calm again. Then they give us another little dancing day so that we can go out here and dance and have another little festival. And then they monetize that. So it's always something to placate us and to pacify us so that we don't actually behave like the dominant society does. Them Trump supporters, when they get pissed off and mad, look, they out there waving guns and almost running people off the road, just out here just wilding.
Didn't they almost run the Biden bus off the road or something during the election? They was wilding.
Yes, they was
not saying that we approve that kind of stuff. Don't come at us. You know, we Black. You ain't gonna be talking about, y'all was talking about some shit that happened 6 months before, and we locking you up longer than these white people who showed up. Like, we're not doing that.
No, you know, we don't even act like that and nowhere close to it. But yet and still, you know, and it's because we don't, that they treat us the way that we do. And I'm not saying we need to act that way, but we need to call them out on their BS because we don't act like that. If we act halfway in the manner that these other guys are acting, we would be all locked up. It would be craziness. And we would be called anarchists and all kinds of other foolish stuff. So it's like we have these gatekeepers and we have to figure out a way to manage around them, or just to figure out a way to call them out and put them on the carpet and hold them accountable, because we don't do that either. You know, they got the stroll and prance around and be all celebratory about the sorority, and everybody forgot about the crap she did. You know, so she was good now because, you know, oh shoot, she part of the culture. We can dance too. And now it's a party on. So everything got to be a goddamn party. And it's not. I'm not going to celebrate my own demise. And this has to stop. And we have to call these people out. And it's got to be something that happens from every angle. It has to be a massive bombardment, just like they're giving us massive bombardment of BS. We got to give them massive bombardments of our protests.
That's true. I agree.
But yeah, I just think that it's interesting because I felt like it wasn't even that long ago we got that executive order, and now this, and I feel like the timing of these things, I don't know. I felt like it was almost like he was trying to soften the blow because he knew that this would, you know, maybe I'm just thinking, maybe he considered that this was not going to be a good look, or someone said we have to do something for Black people real quick, and then he pumped out that executive order, because there's no way anyone in that campaign really thought that this was going to like once people saw the news of this, like this was going to sit well with Black America. Can't believe it. I really can't believe it, because we've really been pushing the issue on reparations. They can say, you know, that they're not hearing us or whatnot, but everybody's talking about it. I mean, you go everywhere in social media, there is someone somewhere saying something about reparations. It's not just us, it's the Republicans, it's like everywhere. And, you know, so like, I can't believe that they thought that they were gonna like put this out there and then think that we were going to ignore the fact that they haven't done anything in regards to reparations for the people who descend from American chattel slavery. Now, it's like, like we said, it isn't like we're saying we got to take this away for these people or that they're not justified in their claim. It's just that we have been through it all. And we have been waiting so long, been so deprived, and then we have an economist come around and he comes up with this ingenious solution for reparations where he's talking about closing the racial wealth gap. But when you break down those individual payments, it is like a fraction of what they're talking about giving to
These
these
people. Exactly. And they're not talking about it over 10 years. And this is no disrespect, but
yeah, and it's like it's just, we are owed so much and we have waited so long, and we can't even get Biden to commit to doing a commission to study it. Like,
Well,
Facts.
Mud,
Facts.
remember when he was asked that question about reparations on the debate stage, he started instantly talking about the Hispanics.
Yes, he did.
So and the Latinx
How
community.
they are the future.
How they're
How
the
they're the future of the country. How
So
immigrants, how we've been able to select the best immigrants from
Yes.
all over the world.
Yes. And that was disrespectful as hell. And not so much as to not so much as to say it was disrespectful that he said that they got to they got to cherry pick the best from all over the world. Excuse me. When you guys cherry picked us, you didn't cherry pick from people who wanted to come. You cherry picked us from a continent based on our either the value that we had, what you can make of us, or the actual skill set that we had in our homelands. And that's just disrespectful. I'm sorry. We're not puppies. So that statement doesn't even land on Black people or freedmen the same. No Black person, excuse me, no Black person that came here via the transatlantic trade, the slave trade. Everybody in the diaspora except for continental Blacks, that don't land the same at all. Because we got cherry picked for all the wrong reasons, as opposed to what his ancestors would cherry pick, quote unquote. So it don't even feel right hearing you say something like that. And them Negroes that was up there standing next to him when he was saying that BS didn't even flinch. Didn't even care. That's just the insensitivity of it all. So yeah, no, we don't have any friends in Congress.
Well, technically, there was only one Negro on the stage, and that was Cory Booker.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Just saying.
You are right about that. It was only one Negro, and he's suspect. Anyway, I don't have much nice words for Milquetoast. I really, really don't. And because his actions speak for himself. So, but yeah, it's just very upsetting. It's just very upsetting. And I don't want us to let this moment pass us by before we actually make a move to speak on it.
I agree with you on that one. I was amazed to be in a clubhouse room with like white conservatives. Like some of them were for reparations, but the other ones were like, listen, I'm not for it. I don't even really care about it because it doesn't affect me and my community. But if it's going to make the country better going forward, fine. You can have your money. Let's just do this the right way. Because all of this other stuff, like they were white Republicans. It's bad when white Republicans are like, just give the Negroes the money and stop all this BS with the people of color shit.
See,
Y'all better watch out because that's where it's going.
you
It's
know,
crazy. It
and
was crazy for me because I haven't been on Clubhouse in months. So,
but you know what? Real talk. If that was the doggone, if that was the attitude that those Republicans was having, the look, just give Negroes their money and let's be done with it. Do it the right way, because all these other people just trying to grift. I'm down with that. I really don't give a flip how you feel about it. I just,
me
as long
either.
as I get my way, give me what's mine. It's my inheritance. And don't tell me it's a handout. It is not. It's not a handout. It's a debt, and it's owed to my ancestors, my great 3-4 times great grandparents that were enslaved and were not compensated for that enslavement. And the pain and suffering thereafter, all that's called an inheritance, my friend, with interest. Because I am the next of kin. And the inheritance has no statute of limitations in the United States of America. You can check it and look at the movies made out of that mess. So I don't want to hear it. It's a handout. It's not. It's my inheritance, and I want it, and the government owes it to me. And I'm not trying to sit up here and let y'all give it away to somebody else before, and then come back and give me some goddamn welfare and tell me I need to pull myself up by my bootstraps.
Now you won't
No.
even give me welfare. You give me hip hop day.
Oh yeah.
Mud, did you have something? I saw you unmuted for a second.
Well, yeah, I was thinking about like the the way that this can be used in the political game. Now, I don't believe all the Republicans in that room. Like, I think some of them are disingenuous. I think some of them understand that this is a wedge issue, and that's how they're going to use it. And honestly, I don't give a damn. I hope they do use it as a wedge issue. I hope that they strike fear in a lot of Democrats' hearts across the country when they start bringing up reparations. Like, why aren't you for this? And why did you do this for this other group of people, but you didn't do it for these Black people that come out and vote for you? Now, whether or not they're going to actually come behind that with an actual real reparations program or a serious effort to do reparations, I don't know. I don't really have a lot of hope for it, but just to light a fire under the Democrats' asses with this shit, I'm all for it.
But let's be honest, Mud, right? The Republicans don't have to do anything more than, if they get in power, do an executive order to study it. If they study it, they literally beat the fucking Dems over the head.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, that's not even a hard thing for them to now offer up. Now, here's the reality, though. They may not want to go that route because once you do the study, eventually, it's going to lead to the payments, and they don't want to be on the hook for all of that. But regardless of all of that, I think that even them just using the talking point, it actually helps us, because the Democrats can see that they're losing support with us, and they really, I don't know where they're going to go, because they haven't offered anything to like, I don't know, like fight against this movement. They haven't offered like an alternative to what we're saying. And like, the apathy is going to be a factor. Our influence is going to be a factor. The Republicans, whatever you want to say about them, they show up. So, like, Democrats, I don't know. It's like, I don't know what else they need to see to realize that they need to change course. But this is going to end up
the
badly
60s,
for them.
the 60s. That's what they need to see. I said they need to see the 60s. And y'all can translate that however the fuck you want. Because Martin Luther King said something about something being something of the unheard, something.
But yeah, look, I think that a lot of people have kind of they've been kind of trying to avoid seeing what we're saying about this whole issue, about how like other groups get prioritized before us, our needs are never met, and politicians aren't taking us as a serious voting bloc. Like, I mean, the Democrats depend on us. You would think that they would see like the danger in all of this, but
But
they
but
just have it in their minds that we don't have anywhere else to go, and
but
it
they
really
just doing
doesn't
what
matter.
they've been doing though, right, Mom? Like think
Yeah,
about it. They've been doing this to us for a long time. We just didn't used to watch the money. Back in the day, they could have did this and none of us would have noticed. 6 years ago, this 450,000 would have dropped and we would have never noticed it.
yeah,
We're
you're right.
watching now. The difference is we're watching. Every time they come up with a bill, what do? We go read the shit. How much money they giving people? Oh, you gave
Yeah,
Afghanis this. Oh, you gave the Native Americans this. Oh, you gave this amount of money in the hate crime bill for the Asians, Pacific Islanders. Like we are watching the money now, so they can't even like slide shit under our nose anymore. Like I hate to say it, but I think the ADOS US Freedmen segment of the country is the most politically astute, as in are paying attention the most to what the fuck is going on.
you might be right about that.
I don't know, we're the
Because everybody
most.
else, well, I would say this: everybody else, to me,
At least
is
on the left.
Yeah.
well, we're kind of caught up in the culture war shit too, but everybody else, that is like the main portion of their politics. It is culture war stuff. Like for the most part, we are very focused on policy, and I mean, we're very focused on like holding our politicians accountable. Also, like being willing to go, I think, to the extreme. I think everyone else is just talking a good game, but ultimately, when it comes down to it, they're just going to do, you know, what they've been doing. We're like the only group that's just saying fuck it, from my perspective.
What did they do?
Mm-hmm.
They went around towns and uh, lynching folks and burning down courthouses and running white folks out of town, and it worked because they had the masses on that side. You know, once you have the masses on your side, you good. The whole, I mean, if you know a little bit about Reconstruction, you know, in some detail, you could see the playbook being played the whole time. Soon as Trump lost, you saw him putting people, right, the people who tried to help him in his cabinet, making them giving them Senate seats, giving them congressional seats, putting them in position all over the country. And, you know, they just disappeared and nobody knew where they was. And the next thing you know, this motherfucker was the mayor of somebody's city or the governor of somebody's city. Like, damn, who this dude? Didn't he just get fired out of the damn White House? Now he the governor? You know, he was putting these people in place. So when the day came for January 6th and they needed somebody to act like it didn't ever happen the way it actually happened, they had those people in place. And now we sitting here looking like, oh man, when did this happen? Because we were so,
Wow.
we got bombarded. We were bombarded with so much stuff with Trump. And it was all happening, and he had all of these people working behind the scenes doing what it was that he needed them to do. We were outsmarted, and the Democrats were outsmarted, and they knew it was going on. They didn't have the political will to stop it, and they weak, and they need to be pushed up out of there. And I hate to say it, like we need these new progressives, but we need the will and the fire and the passion that these new progressives are bringing. But we need our people in there.
I think,
Yeah. Okay.
well, I was just gonna say, I agree with you. Like we do need some of that energy that's coming from the left, to some of that angry Bernie energy, but we need to kind of corral it into like, I don't know, a more accommodating
Yeah,
a platform, because it's like they're so stuck in just this universal stuff. Like it's hard to even like break through to them, like, yo. But even with this, like, this is even an example that we could show them, like, look, like, this is what was happening in our government, where like all this universal stuff that you're telling us is not necessarily happening for everybody. Like, you let, no one is saying because this group is getting reparations, now Black Americans should get reparations. We're not hearing that being said anywhere outside of amongst ourselves.
right.
No,
So
no
nowhere.
ending climate change, no overthrowing capitalism, none of that.
we're not hearing any of these like diversions from these people getting justice.
Yeah.
Um,
We
No,
know.
what about the Native Americans?
None
Mm-mm,
of that shit.
mm-mm.
So
You
it's
know,
like it's so I think that even the left have to see, like, we have a point here. Like, yo, you can't just keep coming to us telling us we have to sacrifice our position, and then everybody else gets to like get that and then get the universal program too.
yeah.
Like,
All right, John D, you've been quiet. You got anything for us? What do you think about the craziness on the left? Come on, give us something. Give us something. Give us some of your good
Oh,
insight.
I've been quiet. You know me, I like to just sit back in these angry
You're
rooms,
a
right?
lurker. You're a
but
lurker.
but you know what about the Republican rooms? You're right. And Mud brought up this kind of interesting point quick about, like, yeah, you notice a lot of these Republican kind of, I guess you might call them like operatives or whatever, that do kind of go in the reparations spaces. He was making that point a little earlier. And it's interesting. And like, yeah, the Republican Party is very powerful. Like, even when they lose, they're there in the state races and the local races. In my area right now, the local races, you just keep seeing all these Republican signs keep coming back up. I even saw "Let's Go Brandon" sign. So like, the Republican Party is really just strong and
And,
powerful
and,
on these
and,
apps,
and
and
when you're done with that, John D, for the
yeah.
Negroes, I need you to explain this "Let's Go Brandon" shit, because I keep seeing this bullshit online. I missed that week on white Twitter.
All
You
right,
know,
so this
yeah, tell it,
this is the
tell it.
white Twitter. This is everything. This is on all the podcasts, everything. So basically, at I think it was a college football game, there was a chant. It was "Fuck Joe Biden, fuck you." You know how all the drunk white guys are in there, and yes, "Fuck Joe Biden." And apparently, the progressive response was, "Oh well, it was actually let's go Brandon," because they were celebrating Brandon's birthday, and they basically like parodied it as a joke and made it, "Oh, okay, fuck you," like Jen Psaki. It's "Let's Go Brandon." And now they've made
I
Stone Cold
love
Steve
that.
Austin retweeted it. You want to talk about white Twitter? Stone Cold Steve Austin retweeted "Let's Go Brandon." So the idea of like "fuck Joe Biden" is definitely in the zeitgeist in the country. His approval's below 50 at this point. So yeah, people, no matter what people feel about the Republicans, how strong people do hate Joe Biden, and that's the point. So that's what "Let's Go Brandon" is. So I hope that's the best. I mean, that's the best explanation I got.
No, we appreciate it for sure.
But you know what sign is next to that in this guy's yard? I mentioned "Let's Go Brandon," and then it's the huge sign: "Oppose critical race theory. Don't change history." And it's like, these little shacks, because and just in the hills up here, and it's like they're really into the culture war stuff, and the Republicans, they love it, and they're going to thrive on it, and they're very powerful party. No matter what people say, every time they lose, "Oh, the Republicans are done." They're never done. They're always going to come back. It's disturbing.
They're zombies. They just keep coming. They just come back. We're gonna
So
keep up this shit.
So how long did you spend in the Republican clubhouse room though? And the
It wasn't.
reparations debates are interesting with those crowd, because you never really know how genuine a lot of them are. They just kind of pester with these questions, all the questions that I know you don't like answering again and again, I think, right?
So this room was actually about this 450,000 for the immigrants who are separated at the border. So that so they kept veering off of that, and then they kind of did the reparations thing, then they veered into something else. So I can't take it. Like, if I come in a room, I need y'all to be on topic, and I just want to know what's going on. So after a while, I started getting annoyed because people who are talking just, so this is my thing. I don't like Clubhouse. Every time I listen to Clubhouse, I feel like the country is doomed and we're all going to die. So I cannot do this work and go on Clubhouse because I just think we're all going to die. Like every time I go on Clubhouse, they literally just, I'm just like, these people are so behind. I don't know where to start. And not only is that, it's the circularness of it. So it's like, it's not that people are behind, it's people are behind and they're not even interested in getting on the same page, not interested in getting in the same section of the library, on the same shelf, in the same letter, like none of it, let alone the same book. So for me, I can't do it. The only reason I've been around these couple days because I wanted to see what the temperature was for what was going on with this thing with the 450,000. And even that, I see certain people with their normal, accusations of, I don't know. I don't like Clubhouse because I think there's a lot of ops on Clubhouse. I think there's a lot of people
they're just using it it's like a lot of anti-Biden, right? Mostly it's just the anti-Biden package, right? Oh, this is just Joe Biden's crap, like the radical left, right? Isn't it mostly just a lot of that? I mean, it seems like, a lot of it is just, oh, he's a radical socialist.
All of it is just a meh for me. Like I'm a meh on the whole Clubhouse because I don't like it. Like I said, I can't have that kind of access to y'all because y'all make me want to quit. For real, y'all make me want to quit. Like when I stay in my bubble with my good white and my Negroes who know what's going on, and we're like fighting towards a goal, and I can have like good conversations that are intelligent and I feel are moving the conversation forward. Like those are the spaces I'm interested in being in. I'm not interested in being in like open public spaces at this point. And people can feel how they want to feel about that with me, but I'm a human being and I get to choose how I spend my time. Sorry, that was a lot. I was just rambling for a minute, but yeah, Clubhouse just gives me feels.
Same amount of reparations, but they stopped it just because it was for Black Americans. So, I mean, the hypocrisy is pretty.
That's really what our issue is. We don't like the hypocrisy.
Well, they can't help it. They can't help it. No one's going to stop their. Our failures fuel the economy, and that's just it. When you look at everything, it's like if they took all the Black people out of the economy, I mean, just all of us, and send us back, what would happen to the economy? It would hit rock bottom because everybody else is all based off of what we produce.
Well, do you remember the articles when they were talking about like cutting back on the prison population and these white people in these rural towns were crying about how they were going to lose their jobs?
Yeah. I do. They were like, no, we can't do that. So every industry just about is the bedrock of it is Black failure, or at least our input into it is at the bedrock, and then it's the pores, like the white pores, and then it kind of builds up after that. But we're always the bedrock. And them white pores have always been right there next to us. They dumbasses just ain't never realized it.
That's why they're starting to call themselves legacy Americans. They starting to get it. John D, can you go through this article for us real quick? Just a little skim.
Did you say legacy American?
We will have this discussion after he reads this. After he reads this.
Yeah, no, I loaded
we
it
need
up.
Some free white labor around here.
Yeah, happy to oblige. Happy to oblige. No, you were talking about the story in Chicago. They were pushing reparations, not like Los Angeles, the universal program. Here's money for 3,200 families. They were pushing a reparations program. The mayor for descendants of enslaved African Americans, as they worded it, and the city council subcommittee just basically. I mean, it was just a huge. Lack of institutional support with delays. There was a debate, about other things about pet stores, and I guess it was a big thing. So it didn't get pushed. So it's just, and they were using extra COVID-19 funds basically. So that was the interesting thing, because I think Garcetti's package was using COVID-19 funds as well. So yeah, The hypocrisy is definitely pretty.
Because of money. That's the reason why they don't have better policies, because the people who give them money are saying don't get no better policies. Better policies equal less money for me. So none of this shocks me. It's all about money. And that's the reason why we haven't gotten what we deserve, is because if we position ourselves better, we go back to the one of the original fears, Negro rule. They're scared that what they did to us is going to get done to them. They
Planet
don't,
of the Apes.
yeah,
They made a whole movie about this.
yes, so they're just afraid. They're afraid that roles are going to be reversed. So no, we're not going to pay you dark as nothing. We just not. We can't afford to. If we give you anything with other people's babies, we got to have white babies. And we can't have white babies if all y'all darkies is got money and our white women is coming to y'all because of patriarchy, and we want to make them our property. And them black women done got y'all conditioned that everything is supposed to be equal. So our white women are looking at us funny now. So it's a lot of crazy crap going on, and it all stems down to black people can't get no better than what they are, or it's gonna make life hard for white people. And that's the status quo. And I'm sorry, it's just not, it can't change. It can't change.
We got to do something to upset this apple cart, because we can't continue to go forward like this. Like the way that John, didn't you send that thing the other week where they're talking about like the majority, like the amount of people that want to secede from want the southern states to like secede from the union? Like, people don't understand how crazy this stuff is going. Like, people are losing their minds low key. Like, we need a non-violent solution, because I don't want to see the violent one.
Sam, you don't realize that today they gave the report that 5 counties in Maryland wants to secede from Maryland and go to West Virginia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they want to leave West Virginia because they want to leave Maryland because they feel like their needs aren't being met. And guess what counties they are? The
white counties.
The whitest, richest, most wealthiest counties.
Mm-hmm.
And what they don't want is all of this Maryland liberal expansion. These black folks and these immigrants that came over here because, Maryland is sanctuary state. And my county is a sanctuary county. So, we got all these military bases over here, and they about to let the Afghans come, and they got the little border kids and stuff over here. So no, they want to leave. It's not going to happen, but it just kind of goes to show the whole, the premise behind, the spirit behind it. They do not want to upset their apple cart, and they feel like, if we got to leave and go where the other white folks is at, and I know that they are poor, but hey, at least they ain't people of color. and so they still feel like they're in a safe space. So I don't know what they're gonna do, but I tell you what, when it comes down to this 4K, this 450K, I absolutely feel like we need to bombard them at every level, starting from the bottom, with our protests, with our statements of discontent. We feel disrespected. From the Democratic Party at every level, and this is ridiculous. How you gonna give somebody, you done told us no at every hand. You done told us no to studies, no to thinking about it, come back later, who this new phone, and then these doggone people come over here and all of a sudden it's what needs to happen. You done put up bureaus of offices of immigrant affairs all over the country. So now you have all kinds of infrastructure set up for them.
HR 572, the Office of New Americas. It hasn't passed yet, but people need to look it up.
Yeah, but we already have one here in Maryland. We have one here in Maryland, passed by the building not too long ago. So I saw it, got the words on the wall and everything for the state of Maryland. And we have an Office of Immigrant Affairs. It opened up October 1st of this year. And it was a unanimous decision in both the House and the Senate, and they did not even contest it, not once. Didn't even know it was going on, to be honest with you. Nobody said anything. So they're building the infrastructure for these guys. Great, I ain't got no problem. But guess what? You're not gonna sit up here and act like you ain't do nothing to me. And that you got all of this energy to go fix some other people. Poor woe is them. But you don't have no energy to fix me, that you for generations. I got documentation back from 1880. I'm still suffering from the environmental racism that my family went through. My mother died because of it. My grandmother, my great grandparents died because of the environmental racism that we had to endure, and we lost our property. So I don't want to hear this. This is generations that happened with us. And these people came over here and just went through that for 3 years. Yeah, it was horrible that what they went through. But guess what? It was horrible what we went through. How about you fix us? They getting reparations. We want some compensation too.
And are still going through, because let's just talk about the fact that mass incarceration, you should be compensating every formerly incarcerated person. And let's go further, you need to compensate the families, because the shit that we have gone through with these people after you've released them back into our homes after years of being in that system, we have had plenty of mental stress and anguish. Like, there's just so much stuff that they have to account for. Like, it's not just slavery. Like, we have gone through, we are experiencing our third genocide in this country as Black Americans currently.
The Black Holocaust ain't never stopped. It just continues. They figure out a different way to oppress us and extract from us every generation. I'm telling you. So I think with this, I keep trying to go back to this 450K. We have to hit them on every level. I'm a staunch advocate of doing all of the things, not just rallying, not just getting on social media, but doing everything, you know, and even if it's just like 10 people doing one thing, 10 people doing something else, you know, if it's your group and it's your 10 people doing those things and we're all doing it at the same time, make a checklist, check off that checklist, but do those things. And if we do that collectively in the same time span, you know, all next week, we're all going to do the same thing. Then
I'm with it.
I'm thinking that
we should definitely be making some phone calls for sure.
Yeah, that could be effective. You know, every area is going to be different because, you know, because of the demographics and the makeup. So it's kind of hard to say, you know, to give detail what a person should do. You have to just know your area and what.
But you can easily call your congressman and senator and be like,
that's something that
what are you doing? What are you doing at this point to push them to make a vote? Because at this point, everybody, the only thing we're waiting on is a vote. So anybody can, you know, like, what are you doing to get what are you doing to whip votes? Like, I don't care if you're not on the committee. Are you talking to the committee? Are you asking them what they're doing to whip votes? Are you telling Sheila Jackson Lee, like, listen, the people in my district are irritated that you're not doing anything. So what are you doing? Because now I have problems. We got to get on that.
HR 40 was, I saw 3 commercials this morning yesterday on HR 40 that NCOBRA had put out during the football game. And so I thought that was good in mixed company, but it's one of those things that I feel like it's the publicity that is needed to
for sure.
Get some momentum. But hopefully we can get some people over the weekend to organize, and I have been seeing some movement on organizing, and so we're doing the same thing here in Maryland, putting together some things so that we can reach out to our local legislators and our state representatives and let them know that, hey, you know, this is some BS and we're not gonna sit up here and let this happen. No, you're not gonna be giving people stuff and you still owe me money.
And that's really what it is. Like Black folks, we don't really have no representation. And
No,
that's
we're
what
not.
and that's really what it is. And I don't think people understand that because I'm tired of these white leftists talking to me about the CBC. The CBC don't listen to my Black ass any more than they listen to your white ass.
Thank you. And they don't listen to none of us. They listen to
That's what
their
I'm
donors.
saying. That's it. So when they be like, oh, well, the CBC, it's like, listen, they not listening to us either. We fighting with them and trying to get them up out of there too. So
Exactly. It's a
it's
mess.
just
It's a
a
mess.
big mess.
But I tell you
All right,
what, Sam, we're trying to do our part and apply the pressure over here in Maryland. And that's, you know, that's our little part. We may be a little toenail in all of this, but in the whole foot of the matter, I'll be a toenail, and I'll do what a toenail is supposed to goddamn do, and get Maryland's senators on notice, because they have to represent us, and that's just
Mhm.
the bottom line. Our representatives are supposed to represent us, and we're going to make them do so. So that's what we're doing on this side. On this,
Mud, you got any last thoughts on this? Because I feel like we beat this to death.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we're not gonna put up with this shit no more. Our vote is for sale. Democrats, you cannot rely on us anymore. You see, we all see that we're not a priority. No matter how much we show up for you and vote for you, you're gonna put other groups before us. So we owe you nothing.
yep, we owe them nothing. No
You got
loyalty.
anything, John D? Sorry.
No, just hashtag reparations now. I like to, for me, I always like to mention the quadrillions number. I stand by it. I'm always going to stand by it, push it. If you need to put a number on anything, everybody likes numbers, quadrillions for me. So thank you for having me, Reset Race. I really love what you guys are trying to do, and have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. And with me, like I said, like Mud said, we're not going to take it anymore. So I'm like Riley on fucking Boondocks. Y'all go look up the Riley Christmas episode. Dear Biden, you are a bitch ass C word. You gonna pay what you owe. That's all I really got to say at this point. That's about where we at. Like, give us our money, especially Biden. You the worst. You're a fucking descendant of slave owners. So you owe this. You directly owe this shit. Pay what you owe. So that's all I got. So I appreciate everybody kind of hopping in on last minute to like have this whole discussion. And I appreciate y'all because I'm tired and I'm fed up. Yeah.
Mississippi is still a very rough place. People is not just walking up like they used to do in the past, walking out, shooting a man down or getting maybe 200 or 300 people carrying you out and lynching you, but it's in a more settled way. They can let you starve to death, not give you jobs. These are some of the things that's happening right now in Mississippi. See, Mississippi is not actually Mississippi's problem. Mississippi is America's problem. Because if America wanted to do something about what has been going on in Mississippi, it could have stopped by now. It wouldn't have been in the past few years between 40 and 50 churches bombed and burned. You see, and this lead me to say, all of the burning and bombing that was done to us and the houses, nobody never said too much about that, and nothing was done. But let something be burned, by a black man, and then, my God, you see, the flag is drenched with our blood. Because you see, so many of our ancestors was killed because we have never accepted slavery. We had to live on it, but we've never wanted it. So we know that this flag is drenched with our blood. So what the young people are saying now, give us a chance to be young men, respected as a man. As we know, this country was built on the black backs of black people across this country. And if we don't have it, you ain't gonna have it either, because we gonna tear it up. That's what they saying. And people ought to understand that. I don't see why they don't understand that. They know what they've done to us. All across this country, they know what they've done to us. This country is desperately sick, and man is on the critical list. I really don't know where we go from here.
Listening to Reset Race, you're now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race, you're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again, we grilling them. Put them back on the grill again, we grilling them. Put them back on the grill again, we grilling them. Back on the grill again, we grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. Adults need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake. Lineage go back to US Southern plantations. Lineage, Jim Crow and mass incarceration. Redlining lynchings. We are old from this nation. You're not about justice if you ain't for reparations. MG the wise one. Cousin mother intellectual. Samantha bringing fire. Anti-black, we pressing you. No permanent friends and no permanent enemies. The backbone of the country. To win, you need our energy. You gon' see. Listening to Reset Race. You now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race. You're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again, we grilling them. Put them back on the grill again, we grilling them. Put them back on the grill again, we grilling them. Back on the grill again, we grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. Adults need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake.
Until you do right by me, everything you think about is gonna crumble.
Negroes should do whatever is necessary to bring about a complete solution to their problem. When I say whatever is necessary, they should have the flexibility to do whatever is necessary to solve the problem.